thank you very much, Derek, and it's a real honour to have been invited here today to let you know a flavour of what we've been doing over the last couple of years to address digital exclusion in the communities where we operate with the support of partners. Okay, so just a quick overview. I'd like to explain today why digital inclusion is such a priority for us as landlords and other landlords in the region as well. Some examples of what we've been doing to address digital exclusion, and also some of the key lessons that we've learned along the way. Digital inclusion is a key priority for Clwyd Alyn Housing Association and has been for a few years now. We know it's important. As the Minister mentioned earlier, we know that people can miss out on an average of £744 a year by not using digital technologies to save money, which is a massive amount of money, particularly for some of our residents who are really struggling in terms of financial exclusion anyway. We know digital inclusion is important to help residents access services, not just through ourselves as landlords, but also in the wider community, whether they're applying for a road tax or all sorts of things now, applying for a TV licence. More and more technology is becoming instrumental. Reducing loneliness and isolation by opening up a whole new world through social media for many residents, particularly those with disabilities or that are elderly and perhaps don't have the mobility and able to leave their homes as much as they once were. Building skills and employability, helping some of our residents, even those that are furthest from the job market, helping them build CVs, showing them how to search for jobs online and apply for jobs online. I mentioned saving money, but also with the rollout of universal credit, residents are going to need to know how to use technologies to claim their benefits online. Yes, it brings efficiency savings for the organisation, but we do know that to be excluded digitally in 2016 is to be excluded both socially and financially. So it's key for us to address this exclusion with our residents. We've been supported in our efforts to date by a wide range of partners, some of whom are mentioned there, and I'll also give some concrete examples when I go through some case studies. What was Communities 2.0 and now Digital Communities Wales have been hugely supportive, so we're very grateful to them for all their help to date. Also private businesses in the communities where we operate and some of the contractors that we work with, again, have been hugely helpful in terms of delivering corporate social responsibility for them, but in making a massive difference to the quality of life of our residents. External funders, where we've needed to help resident groups apply for funding, and also internally there's been a lot of support across the organisation. I'm going to move on to some visual examples in a minute, which hopefully will help bring the examples to life. But these are just a few examples of how we've addressed digital exclusion. It's all about identifying the key barriers of who we've been working with. For some it will be physical barriers. Some elderly residents aren't able to get into the community and to access the fantastic services that libraries are offering, for example, so we need to go to them. For others it will be financial exclusion. They just don't have the money to be able to purchase some of the technologies. We've provided digital prizes as incentives for residents completing surveys or what have you. As the Minister mentioned, we had our resident conference last year, which was all themed around digital inclusion and selling the benefits to our residents to try and make it relevant for them. And also some intergenerational projects we've had some massive success with, so it'll be a pleasure to share with you some of the outcomes of those. Okay, moving on to some of the visual examples. This is a sheltered housing scheme in Abergele, and there were a couple of residents in that scheme that have visual impairments. So up until last year, they just didn't think that technology was necessarily something they would be able to interact with. The scheme's warden helped the residents apply for a British Legion grant, which meant in their communal lounge they now have a computer that has 23-inch touchscreen, Dragon voice recognition, and a special keyboard for visually impaired residents. That now means that those residents can keep in touch with family, friends living as far away as Canada and Italy every day, which has made a huge difference to their quality of life. Private businesses, ecosystems have been particularly generous. They're a business in Flintshire that take corporate social responsibility very seriously. They wanted to donate a couple of laptops to one of our supported living schemes in Wrexham. A supported living scheme to provide temporary accommodation to young people aged 16 to 25 who've been homeless or at risk of homelessness. When they came up to the scheme to meet our young people, they were that impressed that they kindly agreed to donate a laptop for each of the young residents that were there at that time. So that was 12 residents. And they're now able to use those laptops for their college work, to search for jobs online, apply for jobs online, and this was something that they just couldn't afford themselves before, so we're very grateful to them. And contractors as well, Keepmo have been fantastic in terms of helping us address digital exclusion in the communities where we operate. This particular picture shows their community engagement coordinator delivering a CSCS session for another supported living scheme for young people who'd been homeless and were keen to get into the construction industry. Some of you may know that in order to do that you need a red card, a CSCS card, and Julie bought the resources, came down, we used equipment that had been allocated to us by Digital Communities Wales, and they were able to practice on resources much as you would for a theory test. But these CDs cost about £80–90, so again, it's not something they would have been able to do themselves. And then Julie funded the ones that were really committed to actually sit the CSCS test that's enabled them to find employment. I mentioned one resident association. This is another residents association in Ripon that were recently successful in securing a £500 grant from Sainsbury's Welsh Community Fund. And that's enabled them to purchase a computer for their communal lounge. And the residents are now able to book doctor's appointments online. They were able to do shopping online just before Christmas and benefit from the savings that can be made through accessing the online savings or what have you. So that's made a big difference to them. Communities 2.0, I mentioned, have been hugely supportive. Communities 2.0, as they were, came and delivered first click beginners computer courses in a range of our schemes. So for residents who hadn't been able to get out and access courses in the wider community, this was really appreciated. And now Digital Communities Wales, we've continued working with, and they've delivered a number of digital champion training courses now, both for resident volunteers and staff volunteers, that's enabled us to have the confidence and skills to support others online, so that when we're in touch with residents in the communities that we live and work, we're able to support them and help them use the internet for whatever way that's going to benefit them the most. Providing incentives. This picture shows Leo Farrell on the your left hand side. Leo's in his 80s. He's a dedicated volunteer, and he was a lucky winner of a huddle, having completed a survey at our previous residents' conference on antisocial behaviour a couple of years ago. And then he was supported by Sioned, who is Digital Communities Wales, to give him the skills to actually use this huddle, and he's now a fervent advocate of technology and uses it to keep in touch with his son who lives the opposite end of the country. So yeah, Leo's a particular success story. Often the barrier has been about fear and relevance, particularly in some of our elderly resident schemes, where some of the residents have said, look, you know, I'm in my 70s and 80s and I've managed perfectly well, thank you very much, getting to this age without technology, so, you know, I just don't see what it can bring to me. And in those cases, it's been more about finding out their interests and their particular hook. We arranged an audio-visual where Patricia, shown in this picture, came in from Llanrwst Camera Club, and showed an audiovisual of 44 pictures of Llanrwst in the winter time. Absolutely stunningly beautiful. And for some of the residents in that extra care scheme that were no longer able to get out and about and hadn't been out in the wider community, some of them, unless they'd been taken out, certainly hadn't been out in the snow and things like that, it enabled them a chance to reminisce. And for some of the other residents that didn't have mobility issues, they were able to see firsthand about the skills that Patricia had learned and hear about her experiences. So it encouraged them to join their local camera club. Working with tape, community music and film, we've run a couple of quite a few now actually, silent cinema events in extra care schemes, and again these have gone down hugely well. They're black and white films, often Charlie Chaplin is a firm favourite, but we've also brought in a live pianist who works for tape, and he's able to play live music while the black and white film is played, and literally the residents, they just come to life, absolutely love reminiscing. We don't just keep that to our own residents, but we've invited other residents, elderly residents from the wider community in as well to kind of share that experience. And some of those residents have been people that they've grown up with, so it's helped enhance social networks. And we've also invited in other stakeholders that have wanted to conduct consultations. Again, a lot of those residents can't go to local town centres and things, so by bringing them in, they're able to consult with residents in the interval, and they've been able to have their say about issues and services that affect them. And this is an extra care scheme in Colwyn Bay, and the two ladies that feature here with our activities coordinator had problems with their hands, joint problems, and suffered from arthritis, but they'd previously been very crafty, used to use their hands all the time. One of the ladies had been really interested in pottery, so when Communities 2.0, as it was then, came in to run a course with them and were able to show them some of the games and some of the apps, and for the first time in many years those residents were able to actually create something. Jeanette showed them a pottery app, for example, where they could use, by touch screen, use it to create things for the first time in a long time, and something so simple and yet brought a lot of joy to these residents. And I shouldn't have a favourite, but if I was made to pick, this is quite possibly it. It's an intergenerational paired reading project that took place in Abergele and was launched a few years ago now. But long after the grant dried up, it continued because both the elderly residents and the young people got so much out of it. In a nutshell, the elderly residents in the sheltered housing scheme wanted a constructive role to play. They wanted to give something back to their community. We also knew from the local school that there were some of their pupils that were struggling with reading skills and would benefit from having somebody to come in and listen attentively and help them with their reading, which is what our elderly residents did. They went down to the school on a weekly basis, sat in the school library where it was all supervised. They listened to the young pupils read, but at the same time the young people were helping the elderly residents because it was all done through Kindles and e-readers, so both groups really helped each other, and I think one of the really nice unanticipated outcomes from that project was the firm friendships that were made. I remember going down and taking this photo on the right hand side, and this young gentleman specifically wanted his person in the photo with him, because this is the lady who he'd been reading with for a number of weeks, and he literally lit up when she walked into the room and said, I have to have a photo taken with her, she's my person. So, and yeah, celebrate residents' achievements. This is another big lesson that we've learned. We did nominate this particular project for a TPAS award, and it was also shortlisted for a Welsh Housing Award, which made the Volunteers' Day. And one of the local IMs had seen some of the positive press coverage and took the time out of her busy schedule to write in to say that she'd like to pass on her thanks to all of the local residents who'd been involved in that project, which meant a massive deal to them. So, just to wrap up, some of the key lessons that we've learned throughout the work we've done to date. I will say we've learned a huge amount from the residents themselves. Every time we go to do a digital inclusion session, we seem to learn more, both about the residents themselves, but also in terms of some of the barriers that still remain. I think the key for us is always identifying the residents' key barriers, and I know that sounds simple, but it can be so different depending on who you're working with. It might be that there's a need to help access some of the specialist software, hardware that's available that they may not know about. It's always about keeping sessions simple and jargon free. It's often about working in partnership and making sessions relevant and fun. There's normally a hook that you can use to engage when you find out those interests are. I've yet to find what that is with my dad, but I'm still trying. And always tailoring the sessions or courses that you run to residents' own unique needs and wants. One lady that we've recently been working with, who was adamant she was not interested in technology. Her biggest passion in life was her grown-up daughter, and things didn't change until her daughter embarked on a 6-month journey around Hong Kong. And we explained to her, look, you don't need to wait for her to come back to show you all the photos and for her to give you a ring once a week. You can follow her adventures on Twitter. Well, that's it. She's an absolute convert. She's able to comment on all these photos and feel like she's actually experiencing the adventure with us. So that is just absolutely wonderful. So it's about celebrating those achievements so that the individual gets a real sense of pride from whatever their starting point was. It is a massive deal for them, so it's about making sure that the wider community is aware of that. And thank you very much.
Thank you.